Welcome to Across the Goal Line, live from the field. Take it away, Corey.
Welcome to Across the Goal Line. Corey Maines here. With me, as always, is Luke Goddessart. How are you today, Luke?
Pretty good, Corey. We had two legendary members of the sports world pass away recently. The late, great Muhammad Ali, a.k.a. Cassius Clay, and Mr. Hockey, Gordie Howe. So today, the episode is dedicated to both of them.
Yes, today is episode 10, and we are bringing you the results for the NASCAR races. The past couple of weeks, as we took last week off, I was unavailable to do this last week. I had work all week, so we're going to give you the results for that, along with NXT Takeover The End. That was on the Wednesday previously that we were going to do last week, but again, we did not have a podcast last week. Also, give the result of the Stanley Cup final between the San Jose Sharks and the Pittsburgh Penguins, as well as where the NBA Finals stand at this moment. Also, we'll preview the NBA and NHL drafts that are next weekend, starting with the NBA draft on Thursday, with the NHL draft Friday and Saturday. And also, we'll wrap things up this episode with the predictions for WWE Money in the Bank that is on Sunday. Today we'll begin actually with our conclusion for the French Open that we will be wrapping up as we started this about last month, at the end of last month in May. To wrap this up, the two finals that took place Saturday and Sunday, respectively, a few weeks ago. The first one Saturday was the women's final. Featured Garbine Muguruza of Spain taking on Serena Williams, the legendary American number one player in the world. Muguruza defeated Serena Williams 6-4, 7-5 to win her first major title in her career on the clay at Roland Garros in Paris. She defeated her 6-4, 7-5 in a match that was fairly entertaining and pretty close, but at the end, it was basically Muguruza prevailing despite Serena trying to come back and win that match late in that one. And then they had the men's match, which was on Sunday. It had world number one Novak Djokovic taking on the 2 seed in this tournament, Andy Murray. Djokovic picked up his win in this match 3-6, 6-1, 6-2, and 6-4 after a first set where he did not play very well at all. He missed a lot of shots. He then absolutely dominated Murray from there on out as he picked up those two sets, the second and third set, 6-1, 6-2, before having a little more competitive fourth set, almost letting Murray back into the match, but he ended up holding him off in the end. Now for Djokovic, that completes a career Grand Slam for him, meaning that he's won all 4 majors in tennis, the Australian Open, the French Open, Wimbledon, and then the U.S. Open. He's won all 4 of those now in his career. And also, it was his 4th straight major, making him the first person to do that since Rod Laver back in 1969. Rod Laver actually won all 4 majors in the same season. So, his is a little more impressive. But Djokovic now has a career Grand Slam. Also makes it his 12th career major title, moving him up in the ranks. Closing in now on Rafael Nadal, who pulled out of the French Open the week prior for a wrist injury that he suffered in the second round. So now Djokovic is moving into legendary status in tennis, and he keeps moving forward at this dominating rate. He will be even up towards Roger Federer's number of Grand Slam titles, which is pretty astronomical when you think about it. So Djokovic is moving on to possibly becoming the best player in tennis ever if he keeps up this torrent pace of major victories. Moving on now, we'll move on to the NASCAR races that took place over the last 2 weeks that we were unable to provide you with. The one from Pocono, which we'll start with, that was actually on a Monday because it was rained out the Sunday that it was supposed to be run. And that race saw Kurt Busch pick up his first win of the season. Luke, I know you watched it. I knew you were thinking about going to it because it was on Monday.
Yeah, speaking of the rain, we've had a lot of rain here in central Pennsylvania. It's actually raining right now. But I almost went to the Pocono race since it was rescheduled for the next day, that Monday, but timing just wasn't right, and it was, a little last-minute thing, so... But hopefully I can go to a NASCAR race here sometime in the near future. So let's use that hashtag again out there, folks. Get Luke to a NASCAR race.
Yeah, we'll bring it back again. Get Luke to a NASCAR race. Hashtag it up. Write it on our Twitter. Get it all over the Twitterverse. We want to send Luke to a NASCAR race. Anywhere, really. Daytona, somewhere, anywhere. Anyway, the next week, the chase hit Michigan and saw Joey Logano pick up the victory. I think that's his first of the season, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he won the All-Star race a couple weeks ago, but this is his first official win of the 2016 season.
All right, so he picked up his first win of this season. 2 races there, Luke. Did you notice anything about the races that you might want to talk about?
Well, Pocono race, the restarts are always pretty crazy. You can go 3-4 wide down the front stretch. And then Pocono's a tricky triangle, too. So, it's like a triangle. It's not like a regular track. So, a.k.a. the name, the Tricky Triangle. Michigan, there was a lot of wrecks. More than what we've seen in previous years, but not really a whole lot. Both Kurt Busch and Logano picked up their first wins of the season, so happy for them. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, those wins help them moving forward, getting into the chase at the end of the season, trying to win that Sprint Cup championship. All right, we'll move on now. We'll talk about the Stanley Cup final, which is now over between the San Jose Sharks and Pittsburgh Penguins. It was won by Luke's Pittsburgh Penguins in 6 games, 4-2, and the Penguins defeated the Sharks in that Game 6 in San Jose 3-1 to capture the cup on away ice, road ice, yet again. They have not clinched the Stanley Cup final, or the Stanley Cup on home ice before, ever. The Pittsburgh Penguins have not. So that's something for the Pittsburgh Penguins. They always seem to raise the cup in hostile territory, which is an interesting thing.
Let's go Pens, first of all. And it's Pittsburgh sports teams. The Steelers have never won a Super Bowl, obviously, in Pittsburgh.
Because they don't have them there, of course.
Yeah. And then the Pirates have never won a World Series at home either. They'd always won it on the road. And then, as you said, the Pens have still haven't won a Stanley Cup on home ice. And this Stanley Cup, 2016... was 7 years to the day that they won the Cup in 2009 over the Detroit Red Wings. And then the parade that they had yesterday, which over 400,000 people showed up, was held 7 years to the day as well.
That's an interesting little factoid right there. And Pittsburgh, they were probably the better team, I'd say, for most of the playoffs. They had that kind of formula that you need when you go into the playoffs. They were really red hot down the stretch, went like 18-2 or something down the stretch, came in as the hottest team in hockey, and they just pretty much demolished every team they played. They didn't go 7 games at all in this Stanley Cup playoffs. They only went 6, and they didn't go 6 until the Eastern Conference Finals against the Lightning, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, they went 7 against the Lightning.
Oh, they did go 7.
Yeah,
okay, yeah.
It was 5 against the New York Rangers, 6 against Washington Capitals, 7 against the Lightning, and then 6 against the San Jose Sharks. Maybe in another 7 years, the Pens will win another Stanley Cup, but they are the favorite right now to win next year's Stanley Cup. But they have to re-sign a couple guys. We'll have to see what happens. It'd be nice if they could win another Stanley Cup. But going back to Pittsburgh sports teams, the last time the Pens won the Cup, the Steelers won the Super Bowl. So Pittsburgh will probably win the Super Bowl next year. Super Bowl 51 down in Houston. So let's go Steelers. It's about ready to a couple months. It's going to be football season.
Yeah, you talk about them having to sign back some players so they can get back to the Cup, maybe win it again. That's a really tough thing to do, especially when you're the defending champion. They look at the Broncos, They lost a couple guys this offseason. They lost like Brock Osweiler and a couple more guys on their top-ranked defense because they won the championship, because all the teams, of course, they want the guys that are on the championship teams because they are, quote-unquote, the best players in the league. They want them so they can make a difference for their teams. So, but I'll take nothing away from the San Jose Sharks. They did play really good hockey in this series. They did play really well. It's just the speed of Pittsburgh, along with their offensive, they're so dynamic on the offensive end with all the guys that they got. The HBK line especially, those guys have just been so good for them lately and down the stretch here. So they did play well. Martin Jones kept them in it for the most part in Game 6 and in games prior, but ultimately they just didn't get enough past Matt Murray to win the game, and that's all that really comes down to in the end, how many goals you score, how many you can get past the goaltender. So
Yeah, I agree with that. You got to give it out to the San Jose Sharks. They won the West, and it was the best of the best. But Pittsburgh was the better team in the end, and that's why they're Stanley Cup champions right now.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you win the West. West is the best. And, I mean, if you look at it, they won the last. Pittsburgh's the first team to win, since the first Eastern Conference team to win since how long ago? Since Chicago won their first one back in 2010, I think it was. At least that's as far as I remember. Maybe even before that. But because they won 2009.
I know
right?
Boston was in there too, so Boston might have been the only team.
Boston
could be wrong though. Might have been 2011, 2008.
Oh yeah, they beat I think Vancouver in the finals. Yeah, they did. They were the other team. They were the only other team. But it was after Boston because it went then it was L.A. in 2012. Chicago, L.A., Chicago, and now
it was
Pittsburgh.
rotating back and forth.
Yeah, it went rotating back and forth between those two teams. And now we have Pittsburgh breaking that up. So, yeah, take nothing away from the Sharks. They did come out of the West, which did include teams like Chicago and St. Louis that played really well on the stretch. The Stars and then Anaheim and all those other teams. So, take nothing away from them.
Nashville,
all those teams that made it. Even the other teams, some of the teams that didn't make it because the West is just so good. So. All right, we'll move on to the NBA Finals now. Tonight is Thursday, June 16th, and it is Game 6 of the NBA Finals. Something we probably didn't think was going to happen, but because of Draymond Green being suspended for Game 5, which is a big reason why Cleveland won Game 5. So as it stands, the Golden State Warriors are up in this series 3-2. They had that chance to close it out a few nights ago. At home, at Oracle Arena, but Draymond Green not playing, it really hurt them. Plus, LeBron James and Kyrie Irving went off for 41 apiece.
Yeah, I was just about ready to say that.
Those two guys went off and just pretty much said, we're going to get this series back to the quew tonight here in Cleveland.
And that's the first time in NBA Finals history, I believe, that they said that two players on the same team had 40 points apiece. And I guess you could say that could be our stat of the week this week.
Yeah, that or they can, we'll do that for the stat of the week this week. First players and teammates in NBA Finals history to score 40 in a NBA Final game. Also, they scored or assisted on 97 of the 112 points that they scored. So only 30, not even 30 points were scored by other guys. So, I mean, that's a really good game for them. Otherwise, this series has been up and down. It's been a weird series. You had Game 1 and 2, which were mini blowouts almost. Game 1 was kind of close, but then at the end it kind of got away from Cleveland. Game 2 was a blowout for the Golden State Warriors. They dominated them throughout. And then Game 3, Cavaliers come back, they go home, and they blow out the Warriors by 30. That's another stat right there for you. That was one of the latest times that one of the more current times where a team that lost by 30 came back the next night. They won by, or not the next night, but the next game, they won by 30 or more. So Cleveland, they came back, and then the Warriors got that road win at Cleveland. And we thought it was all over, but the scuffle at the end of the Game 4 with Draymond Green and LeBron James really changed this series in a way to make it a little bit more of a series because Draymond Green got into a scuffle with LeBron James. He ended up getting, the NBA made that little scuffle. It turned, Draymond Green got a flagrant foul for that, and though he accumulated so many flagrant fouls and he got suspended for Game 5, and he's a really big piece of their offense with all they do, plus defensively, and that really hurt them in Game 5, as we already mentioned. He helped out with LeBron a lot in the first couple of games, so LeBron was able to get his. Kyrie went off. He took advantage of Steph Curry the whole time. Speaking of Steph Curry, he hasn't been that great in this series. He had a good game in Game 4. He scored 38, I think it was. But otherwise, he hasn't really done much. He hasn't scored over 20 besides that.
Yeah, the only big news about Steph Curry throughout the NBA Finals is him making his new shoe and releasing them. And a lot of people are saying they're dad shoes, but we'll leave that at that. I'm not ever going to buy a pair of them anyway, so.
Too expensive,
Yeah.
I don't see the point in buying them either, so.
And they're Under Armour. I wear Nike, so.
No, I wear Adidas primarily, shoes. Shoes I don't really mind as much, but I just can't wear Nike shoes, I'm sorry. They always seem to disintegrate on me for some reason. I don't know why.
I've been wearing the same pair of shoes for the past 3 to 4 years just because they're so comfy. I wear them everywhere I go. Probably the best shoes I've ever had.
I have a pair that I've had since like 8th grade downstairs in my house here. So, yeah, I haven't had a pair of shoes for about, well, what is it? Trying to think at the time here. 6 years more? I mean, probably more than 6, like 7 maybe. But they're still in great shape. I wear them all the time now because they're orange, and I always wear them with my Flyer stuff when I wear that during hockey season. So that's like the only time I wear those Flyers. Too. I always wear those during hockey season. That's the only time I wear those shoes during hockey season, pretty much, because they go great with all my Flyer stuff, all my orange. So we're getting off topic. We'll bring this back. Game 6 tonight, Thursday, here at the Q in Cleveland. Who do you have in this game, Luke? I guess we'll go to that.
I'm going to stick with the Warriors. I mean, I picked them when we made our predictions like 2 months ago. I mean, I would like to see a Game 7 Sunday night back in Oakland. But the Warriors won it in 6 games last year in Cleveland. I think they'll do the same again tonight. We'll have to see who's named MVP because next time we broadcast, the finals will be over. So who do you have winning the MVP?
The MVP, if it's the Warriors, I don't know who you give the MVP to because initially you think Steph Curry, but he hasn't been that spectacular in this series. I don't know who you give it to. Maybe Draymond, possibly. But honestly, right now, I'm just Sean Livingston, I guess, because he's been really good off the bench for them, especially in games 1 and 2. So he's been the guy that's just come in and put in the work and the effort and has made some good stuff happen for him. So Sean Livingston, I guess, because I don't really honestly know who to give it to. Especially if it's the Warriors. If it's the Cavs, I mean, it'll probably be LeBron or Kyrie because of what they're doing now. Probably Kyrie, actually.
No, I think LeBron will definitely win it if the Cavs win, but hopefully they don't. Hopefully the Warriors win tonight. If they don't win tonight, they can still win Sunday night, as I said. So I'd like to see the Warriors win the finals, to answer your question.
I'll say Warriors win the finals. I'm not sure about tonight because at home, Cleveland's really good. Their only loss at home this postseason is that Game 4 to the Warriors, which does make a better case for the Warriors because they have beaten Cleveland at home, or in Cleveland rather, this series already. So, but Cleveland, they're coming off that great game by LeBron and Kyrie. They might continue that into tonight, being at the hot home crowd in Cleveland. They'll be rowdy, they'll be raucous, they'll be just into the game, and it's going to be up to the Warriors to try to silence that crowd early, like Curry and Thompson making big threes early in the game, Draymond making some nice passes to get those open threes. If they can take the crowd out of it early, then I think the Warriors might be able to run away with this one in the end and lift up that trophy once again in Cleveland. So we'll see what happens tonight. Obviously, by next time, like you said, it'll be over. We'll see what happens. We'll bring you a little what did happen that maybe this game, maybe a Game 7 on Sunday. We'll have to see about that. But I think we're in agreement. Warriors, maybe tonight, maybe Sunday. In the end, I think it's going to be the Warriors. I think they're too good. They're too good of a team. The only way I can see them not winning is if basically what happens in Game 5 happens next two games. If there is 2 games, that is. LeBron and Kyrie, or just one of them going off, carrying the Cavs on their back, All right, now we move on to our mock draft for the NBA and NHL drafts that are taking place next weekend. The NBA draft is Thursday. It's Thursday night from the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York. And then the NHL draft is that Friday and Saturday the same week in Buffalo, New York at the First Niagara Center, home of the Sabres. So we'll start with the NBA draft, this little mock draft we're going to give you here. We'll start with the number 1 overall pick. It belongs to the terrible Philadelphia 76ers. And this time around, I think they will take yet another big man. They've been taking big guys left and right for the last 3 or 4 years now. And they'll take another kind of big guy. And I think they take Ben Simmons out of LSU, who's been regarded as possibly the top pick for a while now, even before going to college out of Australia. He didn't want to go to college, really, I don't think, but he went anyway. He had to complete that 1 year of college. And now here he is in the NBA draft. He'll probably go number 1 to the Sixers. The number 2 pick belongs to the Los Angeles Lakers for the second straight year. Last year they took guard D'Angelo Russell out of Ohio State. And this year I think they take another guard to help fill the void of Kobe's retirement. They'll take a guy that can contribute right away possibly. And I think that might be Buddy Hield, the senior out of Oklahoma, Wooden Award winner from this past season. He can definitely come in, be a great offensive asset to the team that just lost one of the best offensive players in all basketball to retirement. Number 3 pick belongs to Luke's Boston Celtics, who have 8 picks in the entire draft, the most in the draft. In the 60 picks in the entire draft, the Celtics have 8 of them, so that's pretty impressive for them. With that 3rd pick, I will have them take Brandon Ingram, forward out of Duke. He's a little smaller forward for his 6'10" frame. He's only about 200 pounds, but he's trying to bulk up. That's one of his goals before he gets into the draft and into an actual NBA floor, is to beef himself up so that he can bang down low with some bigger guys. So if he can do that, it'll be a great addition to the Boston Celtics, who have a lot of picks to really add to a pretty good team from last season.
I like that pick, Corey.
Thank you. Number 4 is the Phoenix Suns, and I'll have them take the Croatian Dragan Bender. He's a 18-year-old, 7-foot forward who could be a similar guy to like Kristaps Porzingis from last season, or it could be Darko Milicic from 03, that draft with LeBron, Carmelo, and Chris Bosh and D Wade and all of those guys. 04. 4? Really? Luke's telling me 4. I thought it was 3.
It was 2004, I thought. We'll have to look into it.
I thought it was 3, but yeah, we'll see, I guess. But yeah, Dragan Bender, another big forward out of Europe. That's pretty much the MO for guys from Europe. Big guys. A lot of European guys in this league are forwards, or large and 7 feet tall or whatnot. So yet another European product in the NBA. I think it goes to the Phoenix Suns. Number 5 pick belongs to the Minnesota Timberwolves. I think that they have all the talent they need to be good. They have 2 number 1 overall picks, Andrew Wiggins, who they got from Cleveland in the Kevin Love deal, and then, of course, Karl Anthony Towns, who they selected last season. So I think they could add another good player to their already good roster. They're thinking about possibly trying to shopping around this pick to help try to bring in Jimmy Butler from Chicago, because of their new head coach. Tom Thibodeau was, of course, the coach of the Bulls for a while before finally being let go. So I think they might add another guard, because Towns really handles it down low right now as the reigning Rookie of the Year, unanimous decision. So I think they add a guard. I think they take Jaylen Brown out of Cal. He's a pretty big guard. He can play guard or forward. He's 6'7". He can play either or. He's a nice big guy. If they want to go small in the lineup, he's a good guy to fit right in there. 6 belongs to the New Orleans Pelicans. I think they'll take Jamal Murray, guard out of Kentucky. 7 is the Denver Nuggets. I think they take a guy that could be a star caliber player, and Chris Dunn. He's out of Providence. He was considered possibly a Wooden Award finalist, or maybe even was for this past season. He was a senior last season. In his last season in college, he was 6'4", 220. He's a pretty big guy. He'll be able to add to the Nuggets. Number 8 pick belongs to the Sacramento Kings. I think they take Wade Baldwin IV out of Vanderbilt, the 6'3" guard. Number 9 pick belongs to the Toronto Raptors from the New York Knicks, if I'm not mistaken. I think they take the center out of Utah, Jacob Paletti. Number 10 pick belongs to the Milwaukee Bucks. I have them taking Henry Ellison out of Marquette. Marquette product, staying in Wisconsin. So, kind of like our NFL mock draft that, what'd you call it when, like, Eli Apple to...
The Big Apple.
Yeah, the Big Apple, that stuff, like the home roots type stuff, the advertising type stuff, yeah. 11 is the Orlando Magic, good young core there with a new head coach, Frank Vogel, coming over from the Pistons as he got fired. I think they take Marquise Chris out of Washington, not Wisconsin, forward. 12 is the Utah Jazz. They already have a pretty good center in Rudy Gobert, but they could add a more power forward type guy, and I think they'll take Skal Labissiere out of Kentucky. 13 is the Suns yet again. They have their second pick in the lottery. This one coming from the Washington Wizards. I think they take Deontay Davis out of Michigan State, another forward and center, 6'10", 240, freshman. 14, it belongs to those Chicago Bulls I mentioned earlier when talking about the Timberwolves. I think they'll take Timothy Luwawu out of France, a 6'7" guard/forward, another guy that can kind of be a tweener for a team. 15 is the Nuggets yet again. I think they take Domantas Sabonis out of Gonzaga. He's another good player. 16, Boston Celtics yet again, another team that has multiple picks in this first round. I think they'll take Furkan Korkmaz out of Turkey, guard 6'5", 18-year-old out of Turkey. 17 is the Grizzlies. I think they'll take Demetrius Jackson out of Notre Dame, little small. He says he's a forward, but he's 6'1" apparently. But I don't understand how he's a forward if he's 6'1", but I don't know. 18, the Detroit Pistons. I'll have them take Denzel Valentine, the pretty great player out of Michigan State. 6'6" guard/forward, another guy that I've been talking about a lot. Can play that tweener role if you want to go small in this league. 19 is the Nuggets for the third time in this first round. I think they'll take the second Croatian in the first round, Ante Zizic out of Croatia, as I mentioned. Another huge guy. He's 6'11". He's a center, 19 years old out of Croatia. Second big freaking Croatian here off the board, as Bender had going forward to the Suns. 20th pick is the Pacers. I think they'll pick Thon Maker out of Orangeville Prep. He's a big guy again, another big guy in this draft. He's a forward, 7 foot tall, 19-year-old guy. 21 is the Hawks. I have them taking the 6'7" forward out of Baylor, Torian Prince. Number 22 pick, the Charlotte Hornets. I think they'll take Bryce Johnson out of North Carolina. 23 is the Celtics' third pick in this first round. I have them taking Tyler Ulis out of Kentucky. 24, the 76ers' second pick in this first round. Dejounte Murray out of Washington. 25 belongs to the Los Angeles Clippers. I think they'll take Cheek Diallo out of Kansas. 26 belongs to the Sixers for their third pick in this first round. There's so many teams with multiple picks in this round. As we have the Sixers as a third team actually that has 3 picks in this first round. Going with the Celtics and Nuggets with 3 picks. I think they'll take DeAndre Bembry out of St. Joe's. 27 belongs to the Raptors, their second pick in this first round. I think they take Malik Beasley out of Florida State. 28, again, another team that has 3 picks in this first round. It'll be the Suns, and I think they'll take Damian Jones out of Vanderbilt, another huge 7 foot forward. 29th pick belongs to the San Antonio Spurs, and I think they'll take a foreign guy like they like to do a lot. I think they'll take Juan Herngomez out of Spain. He's a 6'9" forward out of Spain. And then the last pick of the first round, which is all we're doing, it belongs to the Golden State Warriors at this point. And I think they'll take Karis LeVert out of Michigan, a 6'7" guard. Nice big guard there to round that out. We'll see how that all plays out for the NBA draft. Like I said, it is Thursday, the 23rd of June, from the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York.
Do you like sports cards, video games, or collecting interesting items? Then Pastime Collectibles is the place for you. Pastime Collectibles is a collectible store in Clearfield, Pennsylvania. Pastime Collectibles sells hobby boxes, vintage cards, Nintendo games and systems, coins, jerseys, memorabilia, and more. Be sure to like Pastime Collectibles on Facebook and follow at Pastime Collect on Twitter. You can contact them by calling 814-762-1410, messaging them on either Facebook or Twitter, or you can even email them at pastime.collectibles@gmail.com. Do you like hunting, fishing, or talking about the outdoors? If so, you need to check out Downriver Outdoors, an outdoors channel on YouTube that brings you some of the best footage of hunting and fishing from the backwoods of Central PA. They also tell some great outdoors stories. Be sure to subscribe to Downriver Outdoors on YouTube.
Now we transition to our mock draft for the NHL draft, which takes place Friday and Saturday of that same week as the NBA draft, the 24th and 25th. And so we'll begin with the number one pick, belongs to the Toronto Maple Leafs. We'll have them taking Austin Matthews, a center from the Zurich in Switzerland, the Switzerland League. I'm not sure what it's called. Either way. The second pick, I'm going to have the Winnipeg Jets. They have the second pick. I think they're going to pick Jesse Puljujärvi out of Karpat. He's from Finland. He's a right winger. I think they pick him. He's a good, big physical guy. He'll be able to help out the slumping Winnipeg Jets, who were pretty good a few years ago, but now they've just slumped off. Third pick belongs to the Columbus Blue Jackets. I have them taking Patrick Laine, also a Finnish player, left winger. He's a little bit bigger than Puljujärvi height-wise, but I think he'll help out the pretty poor Columbus Blue Jackets. Fourth pick belongs to the Edmonton Oilers, and I think to help out Connor McDavid, who they took number one overall last year, I think they'll take Matthew Tkachuk, the left winger from London. London not being like London, England, I mean like London in Canada. They played in the Ontario Hockey League. Five belongs to the Vancouver Canucks. I think they'll take Pierre-Luc Dubois, centerman out of Cape Breton in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. The sixth pick belongs to the Calgary Flames. I have them taking Jacob Chychrun, the defenseman for the Sarnia Sting in the Ontario Hockey League. Then the seventh pick belongs to the Arizona Coyotes. I have them taking Mikhail Sergachev, another defenseman from Windsor in the Ontario Hockey League as well. Then the eighth pick is for the Buffalo Sabres. I'll have them take Alexander Nylander, left winger out of Sweden. Ninth pick is the Montreal Canadiens. I have them take Logan Brown, centerman from Windsor, joining his teammate Mikhail Sergachev as a player picked from Windsor from the Ontario Hockey League. The 10th pick belongs to the Colorado Avalanche, and I have them taking Clayton Keller, another centerman. He's from the U.S. under-18 team. The 11th pick belongs to the New Jersey Devils. I have them taking another centerman, third centerman in a row, Tyson Yost out of Penticton from the British Columbia Hockey League. 12th pick is the Ottawa Senators. I'll have them take Olli Juolevi. He plays for London in the Ontario Hockey League, as well as Tkachuk. I had him going forward to the Oilers. The 13th pick belongs to the Carolina Hurricanes. I have them take another defenseman off the board, Jake Bean from the Calgary Hitmen in the WHL. Boston owns the 14th pick, and I have them taking Kiefer Bellows, a centerman from Sioux Falls from the U.S. Hockey League. 15 is the Minnesota Wild. I have them taking Dante Fabro, a defenseman from Penticton from the British Columbia Hockey League. 16th is the Detroit Red Wings. And I'll have them take Michael McLeod, centerman out of Mississauga in the Ontario Hockey League. 17 belongs to Nashville. I'll have them take Julian Gauthier, the right winger from Val d'Or in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. 18, my Philadelphia Flyers. I'll have them take Max Jones, left winger from London, the London Knights in the Ontario Hockey League. He's a big physical guy. I think he'll help out. From what I've seen, he's kind of a typical Flyers player from olden days, kind of like a Wayne Simmons, big physical guy. Enough about that. The 19th pick is the New York Islanders. All of them take Logan Stanley, defenseman out of Windsor in the Ontario Hockey League. Huge guy, 6'7". He's pretty much almost as big as Zdeno Chara, just a little bit shade under him, so I think they'll pick him up. Zdeno Chara being the captain of the Boston Bruins, but I digress. The Arizona Coyotes have a second pick in this first round as they got it from the New York Rangers. I think they'll take Charles McAvoy, defenseman from he's also played for the U.S. under-18 team. Carolina also gets the second pick in this first round. They get it from Los Angeles Kings. I think they'll take Luke Kunin, centerman from Wisconsin, straight from first player off the board to play college hockey. Winnipeg also has a second pick. They get in this one from Chicago. I think they'll take German Rubisov. He's a centerman. He plays for a team called the Vityaz Poldisk HC. I think it's a Russian team. He's a centerman for that team. So I think we'll go to Winnipeg. 23 is the Florida Panthers. I think they take Boris Kachuk, a winger from Sault Ste. Marie from the Ontario Hockey League. Anaheim, I'll have them take Riley Tuft, a left winger from Fargo in the U.S. Dallas, 25th pick, Pascal Laberge, a centerman from Victoriaville, Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. Washington, I think they'll take Tage Thompson, right winger from Connecticut, another college hockey player off the board. The 27th pick, I have the Tampa Bay Lightning taking Marcus Niemelainen from Saginaw in the Ontario Hockey League. He's a defenseman. St. Louis Blues, I think they'll take Cale Clogg, a defenseman from Brandon in the WHL. The Boston Bruins have their second pick in this first round. They got it from San Jose. I think they'll take Harro Grundstrom, right winger from Modo Hockey in the Swedish Hockey League. And then Toronto wraps it up, and they started out. They're also going to wrap it up the first round. They get this one from Pittsburgh, from the Phil Kessel trade, which was really pivotal for the Penguins winning the Stanley Cup, I believe. I think they'll take Philip Gustafsson, a goalie, the first goalie off the board in the draft, from Luleå HF, another Swedish Hockey League team. So that wraps up the mock draft for both the NBA and the NHL playoffs draft, my bad. We'll see what happens in those. We'll bring you the results for that after they are concluded. We'll bring you the results for that after they've concluded. The week after they've done, we can't do it next week because, well, they actually start next week. So the week after that, we will bring you the results for all those, and we'll see how we did, I guess. So anyway, we'll move on now to our wrestling part of the show, where we're finally getting to it. We'll start with NXT Takeover The End, which was last week. It was on Wednesday, which is an interesting thing. This pay-per-view, so to speak, type of thing for NXT was shown on what NXT is normally on Wednesday nights. They have their regular show normally on Wednesday nights. So they had kind of like a WWE Network special type thing on Wednesday night, which is really interesting. It had just 5 matches. It was the same regular length of a regular NXT show. 5 major matches in it. Starting off with the first match of the night, Ty Dillinger took on Andre Cien, new acquisition for the WWE. And of course, Cien won, being the new guy. Ty Dillinger is basically a jobber in NXT. The Perfect 10, as he's called, even though he doesn't win any matches, he still thinks highly of himself like that. In the next match, we had, well, technically there was a match before that I don't care about, but either way. So the next match was the tag team title match for the NXT Tag Team Championship, which saw the Revival, also known as Dash and Dawson, taking on American Alpha, or Gable and Jordan, who were the champions at the time. And Dash and Dawson actually got back the tag team titles that they lost to American Alpha at NXT TakeOver Dallas. So they become a 2-time NXT Tag Team Champions, which is something you don't see a lot in NXT, multiple-time champions in NXT, especially if you're the NXT champion. There hasn't been a multiple-time winner of that. More on that later, because there was the NXT Championship match at the end of the night. Either way, the next match of the night saw a pretty nice match, which they built up. They called it, a lot of the announcers were saying it was supposed to be a dream match. It wasn't really much of a dream match, though. Shinsuke Nakamura took on Austin Aries in a match, which was... It was pretty good. It was a pretty good match, pretty good lengthy match. It wasn't no match that Nakamura had with Sami Zayn at TakeOver Dallas, but another good match, pretty quality match. Nakamura picked up yet another big victory. He'll probably keep on this hot streak for a while until he'll likely become a contender for the NXT Championship down the line, of course, because he is that world-class talent. He'll definitely be in that mix. He won't lose a match for a while, though, I don't believe. We'll see what he does going forward. Then the co-main event, you could say, was the NXT Women's Championship match, which saw Asuka, the champion, defend her title against Nia Jax. And it was a good match that saw Asuka retain her title And it really kind of cemented Nia Jax as this monstrous woman in the division because she is a big woman. She is, I wouldn't say fat because that's kind of wrong to say that, but she is pretty big. And the match really played well to that kind of theme where she's just bigger and stronger than her opponent. And Asuka really took a lot of the beating in this match, but she prevailed just like any old babyface would in this type of match. And then finally we had the main event of the evening, which was a steel cage match for the NXT Championship between Samoa Joe, the champion, and Finn Balor. The first cage match in NXT history, which saw Samoa Joe win yet again using his patented muscle buster to defeat Finn Balor in the ring 1-2-3 to retain his title. Interesting to see a cage match kind of end with a pinfall. It's not normally how cage matches end. The escape is normally what happens, but another good match. Again, something that wasn't as good as the one at Dallas. I feel like this takeover wasn't that big, wasn't grand like Dallas was. The NXT Takeover Dallas that we did. Our first episode, actually, we did, right?
First, it might have been the second one, but
we talked about Dallas. We talked about it happening. First episode.
First episode we previewed it, and then the second one we gave you.
We didn't like exactly preview it. We said it was happening because we were talking about WrestleMania, and then Takeover Dallas was like that night or something. We were recording, something like that. We didn't really talk.
Be sure to go listen to it though.
Yeah, go listen to it. Tell us what we were talking about in NXT Takeover Dallas. Let us know, so we don't have to, because we're lazy. We don't want to listen to our own stuff. Either way, pretty good pay-per-view, if you want to call it a pay-per-view. It was basically kind of like basically an NXT, just regular old NXT, but it's not technically a pay-per-view because it was only on the WWE Network, which is only $9.99, if I may plug WWE Network once again. Give us your sponsor, WWE. Come on, we're handing out freaking shout-outs to you every time almost. We talk about WWE. When are you gonna pitch in and give us your endorsement, please? We could use it. Either way, speaking of WWE, you can also watch this on the WWE Network. It is the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, which not many, just basically WWE people are calling WrestleMania quality Money in the Bank, which it isn't. There's like 3 good matches and that's it. If you look at the card, well, there's more than 3 great matches. There's probably like 4 pretty good matches, but there's a bunch of other matches that are just crap that would never be on a WrestleMania for any God-given reason. But either way, we'll start with this match. Starting the pre-show in this. Our predictions for Money in the Bank here is on Sunday. Our predictions, it'll begin with the pre-show. We'll start with, for the third straight pay-per-view, Baron Corbin versus Dolph Ziggler. Luke, who do you have in that one?
I like the Lone Wolf Baron Corbin again.
How can you go wrong?
Hopefully he can pick up a win and hopefully get a push here in the near future. He deserves it.
Yeah, he definitely freaking deserves it. He deserves to be off the pre-show. Dolph, too. I said that last month for Extreme Rules. Why the hell are these guys in the pre-show? Why do they have another match? I think they had a match like the night after or the week after or so, Extreme Rules, and those two haven't been seen on TV since. So this is kind of like random to me why this match is happening.
They're on SmackDown. They haven't been shown on Raw the past couple weeks, but yeah, they've been battling each other since WrestleMania, and it hopefully ends this Sunday. And
it should. It's the third match for them, if you're counting pay-per-view matches, because Corbin lost the first one at Payback, and then Ziggler lost the no DQ one at Extreme Rules. So I think Corbin picks up the last of the 3 matches, which is typically how it goes for feuds in WWE. 3 matches, one guy wins 2, and then they're the winner, quote unquote, of the feud. I think Corbin should be the guy that does that. I think he will.
But as you guys know, too, the brand split is coming. They're going to be having a draft, so maybe both these guys will be on SmackDown, and maybe they can continue, this fight and over there and, see where it goes. But maybe throw in some other opponents with it. But it's been too long.
It's too long of a feud. It's just been a pre-show feud, which is also the problem about it. There's no build at all. There's nothing to make you say, yeah, I want to watch this match. Basically, it's on the pre-show. It's supposed to be there to just to be there, Mm-hmm. So, all right, another pre-show match is a feud that basically started the night after Extreme Rules for Money in the Bank qualifying matches. It's Sheamus taking on Apollo Crews, and this feud all got started because Sheamus lost his qualifying match for Money in the Bank against Sami Zayn. He then attacked Apollo Crews backstage that same night. No really given reason why he did, basically just because he's a part of the quote-unquote new era of WWE, because he just got recently called up from NXT. But this is a match I don't think anyone really cares about too much. I don't really care for Apollo Crews. I feel like they're shoving him down our throats almost. He's kind of just being almost like a Roman Reigns in a way. He's just kind of given these chances almost, but at least he's not like main eventing anything. I made the comment on Monday that he's like a smaller Titus O'Neil. He looks like a smaller Titus O'Neil.
Maybe put them together as a tag team.
Yeah, maybe they should. It'd be perfect.
Because they got rid of Darren Young, and they're trying to make him great again with Bob Backlund.
You know, he's never been great.
Those promos are awful. Their vignettes are awful, whatever you want to call them.
They are awkward as hell. Every time I see it come up, I'm like, oh boy, here we go. Fast forward. You just fast forward there. Yeah, those things are terrible. But either way, who we have in this match? I'm just gonna go. I'll give it to Cruz. I think they'll just let Apollo Crews win. I guess.
Yeah, I think Cruz is gonna win too. I think Sheamus will put him over. This
is Cruz' first pay-per-view match, so yeah, that makes sense. I guess. Either way. All right, another match that I guess you don't really care about. I don't really care about it that much. It's a women's tag team match, which I've been like foreseeing for the last month. Based on what's been happening, but yeah, it's Natalya and Becky Lynch taking on Charlotte and Dana Brooke in a tag team match. No title on the line at all. It's kind of dumb for the women's champion Charlotte to be in a match not defending her title, so it's kind of stupid. But I'll just take the good guy team, I guess. The Becky Lynch and Natalya.
For your reasons, I'm not even going to pick this match.
All right. It's just that bad, isn't it? Like, it's not even worth it. Like, what's the big payoff of this match? Nothing, you know? There's nothing to it. Just basically Charlotte and Dana Brooke's friendship, I guess. That's all I got. All right, now I actually move to some title matches. We'll start with the United States title match. It sees Rusev defending his title against, shockingly, Titus O'Neil, who we mentioned just a bit earlier. I don't know why he's being thrusted into the United States Championship picture. I thought for sure it'd be John Cena, but I'm actually happy what they did with John Cena, which we'll get to in a minute. But nevertheless, this match is another match I don't really care about. The U.S. titles really went downhill since Cena lost it to Alberto Del Rio back in Hell in a Cell in October. So, U.S. title's been going downhill. Rusev having it, I like it. I don't like Titus O'Neil being the guy in there. But Titus O'Neil being the guy that's challenging, I think it's pretty obvious. I think Rusev's going to hang on to this title for a little bit longer.
I'm also going to pick Rusev to retain the United States Championship.
All right. Another match that is for the title, or a title, rather, is the tag team title match. It is a fatal four-way tag team match. Features the champions, the New Day, defending against the Vaudevillains, the club, quote-unquote, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, at least two-thirds of the club, technically, and Enzo and Big Cass, I should say. That's how they say it, I guess. Either way, this is a tough match to call, I would say. The New Day I don't know if they actually took over the record for longest reign. If they haven't, I think they'll win. If they did, they might drop the titles to, I would say, Gallows and Anderson, if anyone, I would say. I would have to be a quote-unquote bad guy team, even though Gallows and Anderson are liked by the fans because of their, like, what they did before coming to WWE. So, if anyone would dethrone him in this match, I think it would be those two guys. Those guys are seasoned veterans who would bring some... what's the word? I'll forget about the word. Luke, who are you picking?
I'm going to pick Enzo Amore and Big Cass. They're one of the hottest baby faces out there right now. I think they could have a good feud with the New Day for months to come. I don't see the club, as you said, two-thirds of the club, Gallows and Anderson, winning those tag team titles until AJ Styles wins a title of some sort in the WWE. So hopefully that's by the end of the year, though. So for right now, I'm going to pick Enzo and Big Cass.
That makes sense, having those two wait for AJ, because he's the leader of the club. All right.
I mean, because look at the Shield a couple of years ago. You had Roman and Seth as the tag titles, and then you had Dean as the U.S. title.
Yeah, you have a faction like that. You give them all the gold, So that only makes sense. So yeah, I can see that happening. That could possibly, All right. Let's see here. Another match I guess that's it for the titles until the main event. So we'll go with the namesake match for this pay-per-view, Money in the Bank. It's the Money in the Bank ladder match. Features 6 competitors. It usually is 7, but it's 6 this year, apparently. Features Sami Zayn, Cesaro, Kevin Owens, Chris Jericho,
Alberto Del
Rio, and Dean Ambrose. And the winner of this match will get the Money in the Bank briefcase, which they can cash in for a world title shot whenever they want. So, Luke, who do you think picks up that briefcase and will start chasing that WWE title?
Well, there's only one person in this match that's held the Money in the Bank briefcase before, and that being Alberto Del Rio. But I think it's going to come down to either Dean Ambrose or Kevin Owens. And I'd really like to see Dean Ambrose win, just because right now with the WWE World Heavyweight Championship picture, you have Roman Reigns going up against Seth Rollins, who never lost his title, and then you throw in Dean Ambrose. If he wins the Money in the Bank, he can cash in at any time, anywhere, and be the second member of the Shield to hold a Money in the Bank briefcase as well. So I'd like to see Ambrose win, and then so he could cash in against either Reigns or Rollins anytime within the next year.
Ambrose is definitely probably a popular pick, because he does make probably the most sense out of all these guys when you think about it. Because unless maybe Cesaro, but Cesaro we know has not been getting pushed ever, basically. So Jericho,
along with Bray Wyatt,
who needs to come back soon. He will be. Maybe that night. We don't know.
Maybe interfere in his match. Who knows?
In this match, even, yeah. But Ambrose makes the most sense. They teased it on Raw this past week during his Ambrose Asylum. He was talking about, what if I win the briefcase and cash it on one of you guys after the match? This is Rollins and Reigns match at the end of the show. And he would make the most sense. He'd be the most exciting. The most intriguing one, though, I think would be Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens Money in the Bank briefcase would just fit his character so perfectly. He's the prize fighter. And I think the Money in the Bank briefcase, it almost guarantees you that championship. So he would be a guy, I think he'd be really entertaining to hold the briefcase with, because I feel like he would try to cash in at any time he could. He would probably come out a lot and tease cashing the Money in the Bank a lot, just based on his character.
Now, with the brand split coming up, too, who knows? Come WrestleMania time, they might have another Money in the Bank ladder match, because that's when the Money in the Bank ladder match first started, WrestleMania 23, 10 years ago, when won by CM Punk, I believe.
No?
Edge
won the first ever Money in the Bank.
Okay, yeah. Punk must have won the second.
Rob Van Dam did.
Thanks for putting me down even more.
It was Edge, Rob Van Dam, I think Mr. Kennedy, who then lost the briefcase to Edge, and then
because he was hurt.
Well, yeah, I guess he was hurt.
He was
hurt, but and then I want to say it was CM Punk back-to-back years.
Okay.
23 and 24, because they used to have just at WrestleMania, then they made it a pay-per-view.
Yeah. So maybe they have. What I'm saying is, maybe they have another match like that with the brand split coming up, and they're going to be going back to 2 titles here. Or they might do a thing where you can cash in on either the WWE champion or the World Heavyweight champion. We'll just have to find out and see.
That I would rather see, because it was Edge's second cash in that he cashed in on The Undertaker, who was on SmackDown as the World Heavyweight Championship, or the champion. Edge was on Raw at the time, so I like the idea of just one briefcase. You can go after either champion, and then you can bring over that championship to your brand, the Raw or SmackDown. So I guess I didn't really give my actual pick. I picked Dean Ambrose last month for Extreme Rules. I was picking him early. I'm picking him again because he just makes the most sense with the storyline that it is the Shield, quote unquote. I think they keep it running. I think he, as the Money in the Bank briefcase holder, does add that dynamic storyline to it. He just makes the most sense to me out of all the guys. So I'll take him because, of course, Owens and Zayn, they'll have their own feud. Del Rio, I don't know what the hell he's doing there. He's just there, I guess, for experience. Cesaro isn't getting pushed at all, and Jericho is just, I guess, too old for me, I guess. He's just too old for that last championship run, although he would be a good pick for it, I guess. Give him one last hurrah, but no, I don't pick Jericho. I'll pick Dean Ambrose. And we have the last two matches. We have a co-main event, so to speak, a WrestleMania quality match, you could say. It is AJ Styles taking on John Cena. This match coming about after Styles attacked Cena the week after Extreme Rules when Cena returned from injury. Styles came out and congratulated him back, shook his hand, and then he attacked him because the club came out and the club beat him down. So, who do you have in this match, Luke? Cena or Styles?
I think Styles wins. I think Cena's going to put him over. He put Kevin Owens over this time last year. Now, this isn't Styles' first match in WWE, but Owens beat Cena in his first ever match in WWE last year. So, I like Styles. I mean, I like both guys, but I think Styles picks up the victory.
It's hard to go against John Cena because he always seems to win, but
because he never gives up.
Because he never gives up. He's the guy before the guy, which is Roman Reigns.
But
he's the face that runs the place, I should say, I guess.
But the man is Seth Rollins.
But the man is Seth Rollins. More on him later. But yeah, John Cena, he doesn't lose a lot. AJ Styles, his credibility, I think, might be enough. I don't think that might not factor in, but AJ Styles, I think he can win. I think they might give him the win. Cena might, but I think this might be a ongoing feud that Cena might win in the end, being the babyface in this situation. Styles, I think, picks up this win because of the club, even though the contract signing, that was Monday. He's supposedly signed a contract where the club's not supposed to be there, but I think they'll show up anyway. Either way, I think AJ Styles picks up the win, just like you said, Luke. AJ Styles for this one. Now it's main event time. Roman Reigns defends his WWE World Heavyweight Championship against Seth Rollins, the returning Seth Rollins. And who do you have in this one, Luke?
As much as I don't want to say it, Reigns is going to retain, but it is what it is right now.
Can't really say much more. It's probably going to be Reigns. He's going to hold it till SummerSlam. I've been saying it for a couple months now, I think. It's going to be Reigns. He's the guy, of course. Rollins, who should be the face in this situation, chasing the title would make sense. He's the bad guy, which doesn't make sense for his return. It does make sense in the fact that continuity with his character, but still, I hope they pull off the turn Roman Reigns heel and Seth Rollins face at Money in the Bank. Doubtful that'll happen because Vince and whoever else is hell-bent on having Roman Reigns being the top guy in the company, like the next John Cena type guy. So Roman Reigns, I think, wins this match. As much as I don't want to say that because Seth Rollins is my favorite wrestler in WWE right now. But Roman Reigns for this one. Hopefully Rollins can defeat him for that title in the next month or the month after. I can't stand Roman Reigns holding that title forever, even though he probably will. So that wraps up Money in the Bank predictions, and now we move into Goal Line Stand, the quick fire round. Luke, we have 3 questions for you today, maybe even a 4th if I feel like it. First question, the NHL has officially chosen Las Vegas for an expansion team. Now, also we have the Raiders possibly maybe moving. They're interested in moving to Las Vegas as well. Do you think Las Vegas might be turning into the next big sports city?
It might be. It'd be good for the world of sports, especially for football and hockey. I think Vegas would be behind, cities. It might even be ahead of cities like Los Angeles and Miami and, say, Washington, D.C., just because, everything government-wise.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Vegas, it'd be good. Like I said, it'd be good for the sports world.
And the problem is, the desert and whatnot. There's not a lot of residents, a lot of tourism. Can you have like a consistent fan base? That's the problem, I think. The fan base is going to be the biggest issue with that. Also, to follow up on that, since if the NHL expands to them, that'll be 31 teams in the NHL. That doesn't really make any sense, 31 teams. I think they need a 32nd. Where could they go to get that 32nd? I know you were saying that maybe thinking Canada, another team in Canada. Maybe.
Yeah, it came down to Canada and Vegas for this spot right now, but I mean, maybe like a team, maybe Kansas City gets a hockey team for once, because the Pens were supposed to move there, but they never did because they weren't sold. Maybe like Northwest, U.S. somewhere. Maybe
Northwest, like a Seattle or Portland or something.
Maybe
more like a Seattle, probably.
Maybe the Dakotas. Maybe Portland because they have the Trailblazers. Maybe another team in California. Maybe another team in Texas. Maybe.
Well, they only have the one team in Texas, don't they? They only have Dallas, the Stars, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, another team, yeah.
Yeah, they could have another team, like a San Antonio or a Houston, even. Yeah.
Yeah, Houston would be a good city.
Houston would be.
They have football, baseball, basketball.
They officially all 4 teams. Yeah. All 4 Big 4 sports teams, yeah.
Maybe Oklahoma City. Getting a hockey team. Now, if the Supersonics are still there, Seattle, I'd say, would be a good place.
Seattle's always a pretty good spot.
Maybe the Thunder move back to Seattle and become the Supersonics again, and then you have the Seahawks, and then you got a hockey team.
That would be really good.
So, we'll just have to find out and see.
Yeah.
If they do move to 32 teams, which they should, because the NFL waited how long until 2002 to get the Houston Texans after the Houston Oilers left to go to Nashville to become the Tennessee Titans. So, like I said, we'll just have to find out and see.
Well, we will have to find out and see. It also makes sense because if they move to Vegas, you got to have an even number, right? That doesn't make any sense. Even divisions, whatnot, conferences. So,
16 in the East, 16 in the West.
All right. Second question, talking about Baylor and Art Briles. It's reported that Baylor would be considering to rehire Art Briles if he were to serve a 1-year suspension, first of all, that he's supposed to have. What do you think about them possibly rehiring him? Why do you think that they might actually do that?
It's a big mess right now down in Waco, Baylor. It's just, they shouldn't have fired him in the first place if they're thinking about, having him be suspended for a year and then, rehiring him. They should have just suspended him for a year, hired an interim head coach, which they did in Jim Grobe from Wake Forest, but they should have just suspended him, not fired him. So, who knows what's going to happen with that.
All right, third question. Vikings running back Adrian Peterson has told the Vikings that if they aren't looking for a title, then he'll look to leave Minnesota. Do you think he's right in saying that?
I thought he should have left to go to Dallas when he was suspended 2 years ago. But he didn't because they needed to figure out a trade, which they couldn't because he wasn't a free agent. But if he stays in Minnesota his whole career, he stays in Minnesota his whole career. He doesn't win a Super Bowl, though.
Yeah. All right, now it's time for our question of the week this week. We want to talk about, we mentioned him at the top of the show, the passing of Mr. Hockey Gordie Howe. Wayne Gretzky is on the record saying that the NHL should retire Gordie Howe's number 9 across all of hockey. Now the question of the week this week is, should the NHL retire Gordie Howe's number 9 across hockey? Luke, what do you think about that?
Might as well. You got Wayne Gretzky saying it. He's one of the best. Gordie Howe was probably the best, and that's why they call him Mr. Hockey. So
it only makes sense. He's a legend of the game. Of course, Mr. Hockey as a moniker. I mean, it only makes sense, right? Because he's one of the best in hockey ever. He is just a legendary player who played for so long, loved the game of hockey. Everyone loved how he played the game. Everyone loved playing with him. and against him. He played into his 50s, which is just ridiculous. He absolutely loved the game, as I mentioned. So they should retire Gordie Howe's number 9. I'm surprised it has. Well, I guess it hasn't because he wasn't dead, obviously. But yeah, they should retire his number 9. Gretzky's number 99 is already retired across all hockey because, of course, Wayne Gretzky is the great one, or not the great one. That's Mario Lemieux, isn't it? Or is he? I don't know. I think I'm confusing nicknames. I'm not sure. Either way, that's where we're going to wrap it up this episode of Across the Goal Line. Subscribe to this YouTube channel if you haven't already. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at ATGL16. All of those links are available in the description of this video. Also, if you're answering that question of the week on Twitter, use the hashtag ATGL16 when doing so. Don't forget to email us any questions or concerns at acrossthegoalline2016@gmail.com. And for Luke Goddessart, I'm Corey Baines, and we will see you on the next edition of Across the Goal Line, live from the field.